Hi, I'm Ari, I'm the Oak Witch, and in today's video I'm going to be reviewing a book called Barbarous Words, a Compendium of Conjurations, British Folk Magic and Other Popus Charms by George Hares. So George Hares actually reached out to me, who is also a fellow online creator in the witchcraft community, and he talks a lot about British folk magic, British witchcraft, and he reached out to me and sent me a copy of his book, which he actually released last year, I think mid last year if I'm misremembering, do let me know. And I pre-ordered that book and I bought it when it came out, which I don't have the copy because I actually gave it to a friend of mine, but he sent me this copy, which is basically an updated version of it, and in this review I'll talk about the sort of differences between the one before and this one, which is like the revised version of it, but it's the same book essentially. But yeah, he sent me a copy for me to review, and that's what I'm doing for you guys today. So thank you, George, for sending me this copy, and let's get into it. Straight off the bat, I'm just gonna say I do really love this book. It is essentially the book which, in my head, I've wanted to write for a long time, but I'm now glad that there is that book out there, because it is this modern guide to what we call British folk witchcraft. It is understanding how we can apply these traditional charms and spells, things we see from old witch lore in Britain, applying it to a more modern practice, adjusting what is traditionally a part of history, these charms, these spells, and applying it to everyday life, modern living. And I think it does a really good job of that, and it is essentially a well-rounded approach to modern British witchcraft. So that is what it is in a nutshell. The target audience for this book, if anyone's interested, I wouldn't say is for someone who's really new. I would say that it is probably a book that's good for those who are a bit more intermediary and are interested in British folk magic, and it also draws into some grimoire stuff, so I think it's good to have some knowledge of these things, but also I do think it is a book that anyone can pick up and learn a lot from. But yeah, so as I said, this is a more revised version, so the differences between this version and the one that I initially read when it first came out, this is essentially a better updated version. So the main differences that I noticed are maybe some formatting changes. There's lovely illustrations that have been incorporated into the book now, so like here and there. It's just really lovely, and I think it really just ties the book together nicely. And I believe that George's partner did those pieces of artwork, so yeah, they're really lovely, and they really fit the theme of the book. So just really nice addition. I think the contents page is a bit more fleshed out. Some bits of text in the chapters were a bit more fleshed out, which is quite nice, but overall the book is quite similar. So those who have the first book, don't feel like you're missing out too much, because you're still getting a lot of the really good information that is a part of the book. But yeah, overall I think this version feels a lot more updated and a bit more like well-rounded, but overall you're still getting the same personal book that's full of great information. I really like that it's informative, but George also goes through a lot of his personal experiences to sort of explain the concepts and the things he's talking about. I really like that. I think it can be quite hit or miss sometimes with witchcraft books, where the author really goes into a lot of their own life and personal like experiences, but doesn't always tie it back to the point. Like he does it really well here, and it's just nice to sort of have an idea of a spell maybe, and then he gives his own experience using the spell to give it context. I just think that it's really lovely that he does this, and there's a lot of information in here. So he goes through a brief history of the cunning folk and witchcraft in Britain, and he goes through things like communicating with spirits in Britain and British folk magic. He goes through plant folk magic, he goes through conjurations for days of the week, a bunch of spells for protection, for cursing, for healing, all those sorts of things he goes through in each chapter, and there's just so much information in here, and it is so good for anyone who, yeah, just really wants to get an idea of what British magic looks like in modern practice. Overall, it is a really, really good guide to British witchcraft in modern day practice, the adaptability of the old traditional charms and spells that we see a lot in these historical books and these grimoires, but actually being able to sit down and be like, okay, but you can use them still and they don't have to be used the way that they were always used. Traditions doesn't mean static and stuck in its place for forever. It is adapting to your own person, your individual, your needs, modern day needs. And I think he does a really good job of explaining that and going through that, giving examples. It's just a really valuable book. Magic is alive. Folk just refers to the people, to people now, not just people back then. So when we get to this idea of folk magic or British folk magic, it is something which should be alive within us and within our surroundings. So why not adapt them to modern life, you know? So yeah, I agree with a lot of this book and really love it for what it provides for just the modern magical library that is now very, very popular. So yeah, I do recommend this book. And thank you again for George for sending it to me. I really appreciate it, and I hope you guys enjoyed the review. I'll leave links to George's social media presence down below, so check that out and go support him. And yeah, thank you again for watching. Thank you for my members whose names will be listed in a minute. I really appreciate your support. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.